What is the connection between the parsha Bamidbar and Bechukosai? What is the connection between the Sefer Vayikra and Bamidbar? And lastly, why do we generally lain Bamidbar before Shavuos? Let's try to address these questions. The Gemara in Eruvin on Nun Dal, it says that the Torah will only last within someone who makes himself like a desert. This is also in the beginning of the Bamidbar Raba, the Midrash Raba. You have to make yourself like a desert. What on earth does that mean? We're going to discuss that momentarily. The pasuk at the end of Sefer Vayikra says, "These are the mitzvahs that Hashem commanded Moshe." Excuse me. The pasuk in the beginning of Sefer Bamidbar says, "Hashem spoke to Moshe in the midbar, in the desert." This hints to the reason why Moshe merited receiving and transferring the Torah. Moshe made himself like a desert. We lain Bamidbar before Shavuos in order to refer to this idea that we have to make ourselves like a desert so that we could receive the Torah. This answer is provided by my great-great-grandfather in his Sefer Nachlas via on page Shin Lamed. The idea is we have to make ourselves like a midbar, like a desert. That's why we lain Bamidbar. That's why it's all over here. That's the connection between everything. What does this mean, though, that we have to make ourselves like a desert? Number one, this could be referring to humility. We have to be very humble and honored. As the Gemara in Eruvin says, on Nun Dal and Amar Aleph over there, as well as in the Bamidbar Raba, in Parsha Aleph and Oz Zayin. The first Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, as we discussed, says Moshe kibel Torah mit Sinai. Moshe received the Torah from the mountain of Sinai, Har Sinai. Why? Why does the Mishnah say that Moshe received the Torah from Har Sinai, not from Hashem? One idea is Moshe, he took a lesson from Har Sinai to be humble. Har Sinai was a small mountain. It was humble. A similar explanation is offered by the Eitz Yosef, who is one of the commentaries on the Medrash Tanchuma in Osvav. One needs to be humble in order that he could learn from anyone. Similarly, one needs to be humble and willing to teach anyone as well. That's why humility is very important. Number one, to learn. Number two, to teach. Another example is why the Torah only lasts in someone who makes himself like a desert is, who owns the desert? Well, no one really. No one really cares about a desert. So the idea the Gemara in Yuma says on Ayin Beis Amud Beis that the Torah Mishi Yirtzel v'Yavo v'Yitol, based on the text of the Rabbeinu Chanan over there. Whoever wants to learn Torah, let him come and grab it. He could come and he could get it himself. So just like the desert is ownerless, so too the Torah is ownerless, so to say. Another explanation of why the Torah only lasts in someone who makes himself like a desert is based on another Mishnah in Avos. The Mishnah says in the fourth parak, you should exile yourself. You should go to a place of Torah. Exile yourself, go away from distractions and go to a place of Torah. That's what it says. Get away from the distractions. The desert is a place where there's no distractions. There's no electronics. There's no action. There's nothing in the desert. You have to go to a desert to learn Torah properly. Cut yourself off from all the distractions which are taking you away from learning Torah. Another explanation as to why the Torah only lasts with someone who makes himself like a desert is suggested by Rashi. Rashi and Saita on Chof Aleph Amud Beis explains deserts symbolize simplicity. A desert is it's a simple place, nothing fancy. Don't worry about all the fancy stuff and luxuries of the world over here. Just focus on Torah. The Darkei Musar also says this idea on pages 179 to 180. The Torah only lasts in someone who makes himself like a desert, aka he's not running after all the materialism, all this stuff, the yachts, the private jets, the third, the fourth houses, the restaurants, etc. It's all distractions. Someone who could just live with the bare necessities, he's the person who will have tremendous success. We're coming out of Lag BaOmer right now. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he literally lived in a cave for 13 years, and look at the level that he reached. The generation of the desert is the quintessential or perfect example of this. The Dor HaMidbar. What did they do? They didn't care about all the fancy stuff. They just had man. That's it. This is said also in Pirkei Avos in the 6th parak, Pas b'melech toicha b'al haaretz tishon. If someone doesn't have something else, just eat bread and salt, sleep on the ground if you have nothing else. Someone who learns properly will be taken care of. Hashem will help that person. Just like the people in the desert were taken care of, so too, they had the man from the sky, all their needs are taken care of, so too people who learn Torah, they're going to be taken care of. There's one time a child who went to school, he went to yeshiva, and in the middle of the day, his father realized he forgot to pack him lunch. So what happened? The father quickly brought the lunch over to the yeshiva, and then he had lunch. The Chafetz Chaim explains, Hashem will pack our lunch. If we commit ourselves to learning Torah, Hashem will take care of us. We have to make ourselves like a desert. Mida keneged mida. Since this individual isn't concerned about his own physicalities and the stuff that he wants, Hashem will take care of all the needs that he has. The question is, why wasn't the Torah given in a large-based medrash, a large yeshiva? Why specifically in a desert? A desert, there's sandstorms. Seemingly, it's not the most conducive environment, the optimal setting to give or receive the Torah. Why wasn't it given in a better place? Based on what we just said, it was given in the desert to teach that what? Another explanation is the Torah, you could learn it anywhere. Even if it's not the best environment, you learn Torah anywhere, wherever you could. The Gemara in Tainis quotes a statement of Rav Yossi. Rav Yossi said this on Falaf Amid Beis. Rabbi Yossi Oimer Loimakoimer Shalodem Makavdil Odem Makavim Makaimer. The place of a person doesn't give him honor. Rather, a person brings honor to the place where he is. Wherever you are, bring honor to that place. You bring Torah wherever you are. You could come great regardless. We discuss in parshas Truma Vasuli Mikdash V'Shchanti B'Soichem. Make for me a mikdash, and my presence will be there. Right? So what does that mean over there? Why does it say my presence will be b'soicham within it in the plural? So the Or Chaim explains that everyone has to make their own holy place within themselves, their own mikdash within themselves. It's not referring to a physical mikdash, it's referring to within yourself. Everyone has to make that own place. This is the Or Chaim on Safhei. Yes, that's the idea. No matter where you are, no matter what happens, that's what it is. The Avnei Nezer says a person is in the place where his mind and heart are. He's on the art scroll actually on Sefer Shmuel Aleph Perek Gimel Pasuk Gimel on page 25. A person is truly in the place where his mind and his heart is. Someone whose thoughts are in holiness is in a holy place, even if his body is elsewhere. And similarly, someone who's in a holy place, his mind could be elsewhere. It's like he's not even there. That's the idea over here. Rav Shach Zatzal says, in his opinion, a Jew who's learning Torah, wherever he is, it's as if he's in Israel. That's the idea over here. Any questions, comments on this?
Yes. So like when you said the God of the desert,
Yeah.
so like the answer I should take care of you. I was writing that like you have to drink gallons of water and you could get dehydrated. But that's not what I meant to ask because you answered my my question is how long should you be in the desert? How long? The whole life?
You shouldn't be there at all. This is referring to actually being in a desert. It refers to making yourself like the desert for around the 4 or 5 reasons that we just said.
Oh, if you don't want any disturbances.
Exactly.
Also, like what you just said now, if you think that you're in like a holy, if you could be in a holy place and you think you're like somewhere else, so that's a Mishna and Brachos. If a guy is lain Kriya Shema, and then goes on, then he should go off. But if it's hard for him, he stays on, and he should be having a sleep by connected base kodesh hakadoshim.
First of all, we don't say laning Kriya Shema, we say saying Shema or reciting Shema. Second of all, that has nothing to do with Shema, that has to do with Shemona Esrei. And third of all, it's a good point. Yep.
Oh, right. My mistake.
Yeah.
Just being.
That's right.
My mistake. Hey.
Any questions, comments?
He can ask him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like and subscribe, everybody.
Yeah, okay. What else?
It's a bad thing to like go to the midbar. It's like very empty. Like you should want to learn in the midbar. Like
You shouldn't want to go there. Doesn't mean actually be there. It means you apply the lessons.
I've been in deserts.
Yeah, okay, good for you.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
it's your great.
Reb Meshulam Hayeshvi girls. His farm,
Nachlas Tzvi.
Nachlas Tzvi and a Torah Tzvi. You could get it for free on HebrewBooks.org.
Rabbi, and you said no one cares about the desert. Doesn't Hashem care about the desert?
Right. What I mean is that
Hashem
people,
isn't a person.
most people don't care about living there because it's a desert. It's a wasteland.
Never saw a house in the desert.
By the way, I wanted to add one more thing now that I just thought of it. There's a Maisa. The Rambam says that we were actually talking about this the other night, that you should be in a good environment, etc.
Yeah.
So the Rambam says in Hilchos Deis that if you're in a place and it's a bad environment and there are bad people there, so what should you do? You got to get out of there. If there's nowhere you could go, he says you run to a desert. So this. No. This is I could have mentioned it last night in the Avos, but I didn't. But I'm thinking about it now because it has to do with the desert. So the Rambam says you go to a desert. So there's a Maisa that the Satmar Rebbe is the Chazon Ish. So what does that mean? We should all go to deserts nowadays? Chazon Ish says no. You stay in the yeshiva. You stay in the shuls. Those are your deserts where you live in Torah, where you're Isaac, the Avodas HaKodesh.
See in the desert.
Also watch the Avos.
Yeah.
Zayich.
Bechukosai, subscribe and watch every video. Yes.
Wait, hold on. Here's another question. Yeah. Do you have another question, or you just want to talk?
The best Rosh Chabura.
Okay. Anything else?
Continue giving these amazing shiurim.
One fancy.
Who's fancy?
One, you could have made it fancy.
No, but it was the same thing. It
The
looked
way-
the same every day.
By the way, just to add, when the Yidden were in the desert, there was a Amet Anon. There was a cloud. Everyone was in the cloud.
Yeah.
So
They were taking care of it there.
so they were taking care of they had food. Even when Hashem, even when they wanted meat, so Hashem said, "I'll send them the meat," and then they would get bored out of it. But that's love. What they had was delicious.
Yeah.
They had also
It's
every
cool.
single zach was delicious. Water, every single zach from A to Z was. There was no chesroinus in the midbar.
Let me ask you a question. You brought up the clouds of glory that Anani are covered.
Yeah.
Why are they called Anani half covered? Think about that question. Let me know.
What else should it be called?
Nonim clouds. What's the half covered? The hay before Anani half covered.
So what? So why is the kisei covered called the kisei covered?
It's a one of a kind type of kisei.
And this is
It's
one
all-
of a kind.
No, it was Anani covered. We know that the Mefarshim explained there were actually 7 clouds.
7?
And there was an Amad Eish.
Come on.
Rabbi, how many Amar?
All right, think about it.
Asian were there?
One.
Okay, Rabbi, say like and subscribe.
Okay.